Nerds International proudly presents
Hello and welcome to the 3T RPG podcast. This is a podcast all about tabletop RPGs. My name is Harrison Hunt, and with me I have the famous Nick Lamley.
Infamous.
No, famous.
Famous. Just fum.
I like famous with carrot sticks.
Oh, shut up.
Sorry, that was awful.
Nice bit of famous. Oh,
okay,
God.
right. Enough of that. So yeah, as I said, this is a podcast all about tabletop RPGs, and we've got some great bloody items. We've got What You've Been Slaying, where we talk about what we've been playing. There's the main subject, where we're going to do a review of Judge Dredd in the Worlds of 2000 AD tabletop adventure game. I fucked it up. And then I've got a new segment called Wi-Fi Signal. And you'll be able to figure out what that is later on. And Nick's got a special surprise item.
Yep.
And then we got the electro letters.
Oh, yeah.
For now, I just want to give a quick PSA because essentially we missed an episode of Dirt Boy Blues recently.
Okay, yeah.
And I just wanted to let the people know, let our listeners know that is still happening.
Oh, God, yeah.
We had to take a few weeks off for a family emergency.
Yep. It's all sorted out.
Yep. It's all sorted out.
Family
now.
are back together.
Family are back together.
We reconciled it for them. We don't know the family.
No, it was a different family.
We had to step in.
We were walking down the road, saw a family emergency, and we sorted it out.
Took 6 weeks, but it's done.
God, that family were nutters.
Oh, I tell you what.
So, right, let's get on to what we've been playing in What You Slayin'. One of these! Oi! Yeah? What you slayin'? So first up, obviously we've been playing Lamentations of the Flame Princess. That campaign is still ongoing.
God, yeah.
But we kind of done it as like a open table West Marches type game, although nobody's stepped up to actually run one yet, except for Nick.
Yes.
So what it means is that any GM can jump in, add to the story should they want to, and if they feel like they can take it in an interesting direction. And it worked out really well because you did a prequel.
I did, yes. Did a prequel to basically the events that kind of led up to the party kind of meeting, or just before they met, and then them leading up to them getting into the town where the actual game started off. So I thought it would be a nice little area to kind of shine a light on and run an adventure in, and we could kind of see the relationships, because we never really knew the background of the group, did we? We just they were together.
It was something you agreed on, like you met on the road, but we never really discussed how.
So I wanted to play how they met on the road, yeah.
Just to let you know, listeners, our window is open. We're not closing it because it's hot today.
It's way hot, yeah.
But yeah, it was, and you did the Tales of the Scarecrow, Tales of the Scarecrow,
yeah, which is, I believe, part of an anthology.
It is now. Originally, it was just a short adventure that was released by James Raggi, and it was a Lamentations adventure.
It's fantastic.
And now they've got these two adventure anthologies. One is Death, and the other one's Fire, which is fucking cool.
But, yeah, that is cool.
Yeah, so Tales of the Scarecrow is in one of those. So yeah, what did you make of it?
I loved it. What I really liked about this adventure is that it leaves it very open for you, and it's a very kind of straightforward premise, but at the same time, it's essentially a giant puzzle. This adventure.
It pretty much is, and it's like a really tiny sandbox.
Tiny little sandbox.
Essentially, the people, the party are on the road, and they come across a farm, and they're hungry. They go to the farm, and it turns out that there's a big monster underneath all of the corn.
That's right.
It's making it go weird and black. And
yep.
There's a harpsichord inside that can soothe it, but that's only if the players aren't too wary of shit like that.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
We had to try and leg it across the field to save somebody, and yeah, it's a really small area, but the whole adventure takes place there, and you can do what you like with it.
Yeah, totally. I loved it, and it reminded me a little bit of Tremors. Do you remember Tremors, when they're all stuck in the town and they're like on the top of the roofs, and like the creatures underneath are like trying to get them? It was a bit like that, because if you're in the little farmsteads right in the middle of the cornfield, and that's directly below the monster's brain, so if you're there, you're fine, but as soon as you walk into the cornfield, it can get you with its tentacles. And that was the fun, because it was them trying to run across this cornfield, big tentacles after them, and and like the path into the farm then gets blocked because the monster could control the corn, essentially. So it's like a puzzle of trying to get back out the corn again. It's brilliant.
What I really liked about it was the even something as simple as moving through, because the corn is so tall and it keeps regrowing.
Yep.
it's like it's really difficult, and it actually ended with somebody casting the fly spell with the other two players attached, and my character, who I was playing for the one-off, on top of the roof, like, get away while you still can, slashing at these tentacles, and it was so good, man.
It was really good fun.
Proper good horror adventure. Check
I loved it. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it, because I really, really enjoyed it.
It's one of the best I've played, man. Very good.
Mate,
Just kicked my mic. So we've obviously, Lamentations in general is going pretty well. They've just finished the first arc of the campaign. And what it was essentially I tried to make the most cliche story possible kind of fun and different.
Yeah.
So it was the whole party having to kill an evil wizard who'd kidnapped a princess. That was essentially what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Well, things didn't quite go as planned in the ending of the arc, because what happened is they broke into the wizard's hut by flying onto the... Not hut, tower. By flying on the back of a magically conjured dragon, smashing the roof in and beating the everlasting piss out of him. But then... instead of saying he was like the leader of these barbarians, and instead of like saying, well, now I disband all of you evil people, they took control of them instead. So now you guys are the leaders of a barbaric nation, which is insane. But what's really cool is because they've essentially got this one rule in their town. It's the rule of duel. And if you don't, if you have a disagreement with somebody, you challenge them to a duel, and if you win, you're now the guy. You had a disagreement with Morden, who was the leader. You killed him, and now you're the leader.
Now we're the guy. Yeah. And to prove, and like just to kind of solidify our rule, we had to then do a blood rite, which was the person that we wanted to be king had to fight the barbarians champion, because they challenged it, right?
Yeah, and along with a bunch of other challenges. But that was it. And it was called, was it the blood rite of the Doom Pits or something like this? It was like I tried to make it as barbaric as possible in like a jokey way.
Yeah, and it was amazing. It was awesome. And oh mate, I've never played a game now where you've got so much power.
Yeah.
Like normally you're always on the back foot adventuring, but I like how lazy our party's got straight away.
Yeah, it's like they're now doing something called the Barrow Maze, where they know that Morden had a backup plan, and he buried a like an artifact, a really powerful, deadly artifact, under a grave.
Yep.
And they basically get to this graveyard that's all these barrow mounds, and then they go, well, fuck, and there's like 70 of them. And
mate, yeah.
Immediately what you guys did is set your army digging, and then went to the pub.
With their weapons, bless them. I love the way that when adventure calls now, we just kind of try and delegate rather than answer the call.
That's what being a leader is, I guess. Yeah, it's so funny. It is really, really fun, like... you guys
having shift.
Power.
I love it. Yeah, it's a really weird shift to our normal games, and it's really, really, really enjoyable.
So yeah, if you could play think about that, dear listener. If you're ever playing a game with the characters a high level, you can have them actually have real power. Lamentations is set up specifically for that, which is awesome. But yeah, it really is fun doing that kind of stuff.
But now we've got to make normal your normal run of the your normal game night would sometimes involve like a bit of battling and a bit of adventuring. Now it's more like right, so we need to move some troops and like doing staff registers and sending like comes with a lot more responsibility, but very different.
And some of the things you do, you have to be wary that your people might disagree with it.
Yeah.
And that is really, really, because like there are so many things where you'll be like, maybe we can change the laws so this, and your advisors will be like, well, it is not the way.
No, we're not like this.
If you were to change the way, then be prepared to duel for many days.
So we're a bit screwed, really. So we're in a bit of a precarious situation, but it's fun.
It is good. And lastly, we often talk about things, new gets, new buys, things like this. And Nick, you picked up, well, I got you a little gift, Dark Overlord.
Dark Overlord. So I'm sure we've spoken about this a little bit before on the podcast in the Savage Con episode, but your game finished up a bit early, didn't it? And you had the pleasure of playing this cracking game.
Yeah, so I'm not going to, I hopefully not give anything away by saying this, but Nick was involved in a pretty bad game at the time, and all he could hear was us playing this card game over the other side of the room. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because it is kind of a role-playing game in certain senses.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, if you've ever watched The Apprentice, it's essentially the main guy who's the runner of the game, he plays a goblin boss, and you all play goblins that have failed on a mission.
Yeah,
and the idea is to use your cards to try and role-playing to try and divert attention to somebody else, blame somebody else, or give an excuse, things like this.
So the Overlord would be like, so, Drip, tell me why you were unable to take the princess.
And let's say, for example, I have the 1,000 bees card. I can be like, well, it was because him over there, he set off a bunch of bees. And then he'll divert his attention. Yep. That's the kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But if your excuse is bad, then you can get a withering stare. You get 2 of those and you go into the fire pits, you're dead.
Yeah, that's it.
And that's it. Really great game. But we were playing this alongside Nick was playing this kind of bad game at the time, and all he could hear was us going. No, it's the guy who was running the game, and all he could hear was the guy running the game saying, "You sent a dragon to pick up prostitutes."
Yeah,
or something.
dragons out whoring.
Yeah, and it was so much fun. Yeah, because we finished early, so we just fuck it, let's play this.
So Harrods was nice enough to pick it up for me because it's actually quite an old game and quite a very hard game to get hold of.
Bloody hard to find.
Yes,
and the guy I bought it off, it was only selling it for 30 quid,
which is insane.
Which is nuts.
Yeah,
you could only find it for like 60, 70. It's like half the price it should have been.
It's a cracking game. It's a Fantasy Flight game, isn't it?
I don't know.
I believe it's made by Fantasy Flight Games. I'm almost certain.
It is.
Yeah, it is. It is made by Fantasy Flight Games.
Well, they've done a good job.
It's a very good game. So we're hoping to maybe do a few, and we might record them because there'll be a lot of fun, boys involved, and maybe we'll do one. So stay tuned. But yeah, Dark Overlord. If you can get your hands on it, do it because it's fantastic.
Absolutely. Next up, we're going to move on to the main subject, which is Judge Dredd and the Worlds of 2000 AD tabletop adventure game. So let's get on with that.
Main subject magic. Main subject Tokyo. Main subject.
Voyage into the far future in this versatile tabletop game of science fiction adventure. Mutant bounty hunters hunt down the scum of the universe. The noble houses of a resurgent Imperial Russia use every means at their disposal to attempt to become the supreme power, using bribery, assassination, espionage, diplomacy, and war. The solar system is invaded by the Geeks, a hostile alien race hell-bent on the destruction of mankind, on Earth and her colonies in the solar system. Criminal hitmen fulfill their contracts, blasting their way through rivals and bodyguards to achieve their bloody payday. Occult investigators hunt down demons and restless spirits, threatening both the lives and the souls of the people of Britain. Hello. So that is Judge Dredd and the Worlds of 2000 AD tabletop adventure game. I mean, I think they should have just called it Judge Dredd the RPG.
It's a snappy title, that for it. It really rolls off the tongue.
But yes, we're talking about Judge Dredd today, the new role-playing game that's just come out from a British company whose name I forget.
2000 AD Rebellion?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, so 2000 AD Rebellion. I don't know. So, Judge Dredd is an open-type game system called WOIN. That means what's old is new.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, of course. What's old is new. Yeah.
And there are actually other games that use the system, but I've looked them up, and there's none that you would really know of.
No,
like they're very small ones that are out there. They're on drive-thru and things like this.
Yeah.
But this allows people to play in any of the worlds depicted in the fantastic 2000 AD comics. Although this game has a focus on playing judges, basically lawmen in Mega City 1 who fight criminals, robots, mutants, and mutant robots. The WOIN system allows you to play in any of the worlds from 2000 AD. There's one like the Ace Trucking Company, where you find your fortune with your own intergalactic shipping company. Sinister Dexter, where you play as hitmen for the mob in Download City.
Nice.
And there are many, many more, but of course I want to shout out my favourite, The Ballad of Halo Jones, where you play as people living their lives on the Hoop, which is a ring-shaped structure in the Atlantic Ocean, big enough to house many cities. As you can see, this game is going for versatility. But is the book actually useful in this regard? Is it the ultimate sci-fi fantasy game? Sci-fi fantasy, sci-fantasy? Let's bloody well find out.
Let's bloody find out.
So the book begins with an introduction explaining what 2000 AD is and also what the game is kind of about. Obviously, as I mentioned, Judge Dredd is the main setting, so for those that don't know, Judge Dredd is set in 2099.
Not too far off then.
We're getting there.
Yeah.
So one day we'll see this actually happen.
Yeah.
A huge global war has goofed everything into a radioactive wasteland, and thus, in the few cities which exist, the population is astronomically high. People packed in like cheap ham.
Oh, lovely.
And the one Judge Dress I put there.
Judge Dress.
And the one which Judge Dress takes place in, which I've written in my notes, is Mega City 1, which is one of the 3 cities still standing in America. It's a typical future city with high-rise blocks and scummy alleyways, but the tower blocks are so high that the biggest among them can house 50,000 people.
Jeez.
Well, good.
Yeah.
Now, the unemployment is rampant in Mega City 1, what with overpopulation and many jobs being taken by robots, so people are mad, all manner of crimes happen, and owing to the nature of crowded and built-up cities, crimes can be very difficult to solve. And thus, Mega City 1 employs these new types of special law enforcement called judges. Oh yeah, so everyone, well, obviously, most people know Judge Dredd.
I would like to think so.
He's the typical type of judge. Mm-hmm. You see, judges have complete power to enforce the law in any way they see fit and by any means. So when you watch like the film and that, he's obviously usually being like really violent and horrible.
Yep.
And it's because he's allowed to do what he wants.
Because he can do what the hell he likes.
He can enforce it however he wants.
He's judge, jury and executioner, isn't he?
Exactly. And they capture perps, sentence them, and make sure the sentence is fulfilled.
Yeah.
So, for example, you could be out littering, and suddenly a judge goes, execution.
Hey, perp.
And then he's responsible for carrying out the execution. He shoots you in the face.
For littering.
Yeah, exactly.
And then makes more human litter.
Well, yeah, exactly. And then he can say to somebody, clean that up.
Clean that up.
And if they don't, they're perverting the course of justice.
Execution.
This is why I think so far the premise is very, very good, because it really makes for players doing whatever the fuck they want. If you're playing a judge game, you don't have to.
Yeah,
but-
that's true.
So, of course, judges are very recognisable owing to their cracking costumes, but it's not all about cool outfits with shoulder pads so large you could land a plane on them. No. Judges have access to cool equipment too, the most iconic being the Lawmaker pistol.
Oh, yeah.
You remember that one?
Oh, yeah. That's one they talk to. They can do different settings on it and everything, can't they?
Yes, it can fire various types of ammo. So it's like you can have like acid shots
Yep.
or shotgun shots.
Stun shots.
Yep, loads and loads. And then there's, of course, the Lawmaster motorcycle. But it's worth noting at this point, however, that in Judge Dredd, as I said, you don't have to play judges. You can be criminals, regular folk, whatever. One of the main types of campaign it says to do if you're not playing judges is perps.
Okay,
So you play criminals on the run from
the
judges.
judges, yeah.
And think about how fucking cool a judge would be as a bad guy.
Oh, mate.
Like, they would do anything to get to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It would be awesome. So, yeah. The next thing that follows is a how to play role-playing game section. There's nothing really interesting there, but what is cool is the example of play section, which is illustrated beautifully in comic form.
Amazing.
Have you read that one?
Yeah.
It's really good because it tells, like, actually a really short, compelling story in, like, 2 pages, but it's just... it's actually telling you how to play the game.
It's perfect as well, yeah, and it's like visual aid rather than having to read a bunch of text and try and understand it. It's just perfectly there in great illustration.
And
so.
you know, like the side boxes you often get in comics.
Yeah.
That will show what the DM's doing.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah,
it's
clever.
really, really clever.
It's a clever way to do it.
And in the comic, a group of judges are tracking down a criminal named Spuggy Mullet, and they've tracked him to the Rick Astley block, apartment 1178F, and discuss their moves. Throughout the short comic, it demonstrates when the GM should ask for a roll, what happens as the consequences of a bad roll, and different play styles. It's a really entertaining way to do that. Following this is an example of all of the 2000 AD worlds, and they all sound brilliant. We've noted the Ballad of Halo Jones and Sinister Dexter, but there's a fair few more. There's Robo Hunter, Slain, Strontium Dog, and they mention at some point many of them will be available to buy as source
Yeah,
books.
that's what's coming. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so all of the settings available for this system are going to be 2000 AD ones.
Absolutely. So it wasn't just a Kickstarter; it was literally kickstarting kind of this whole product line. I guess.
Product line, yeah, a brand.
Yeah, a brand. Yeah.
So let's get into character creation and strap in, ladies and gentlemen, because this takes a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But it is important to note this because this game is kind of different to most things that I've seen. So character creation, making a character in the game, it does have a good amount of depth. But as I said, I don't know if it seems that quick.
No.
So first you determine your attributes, which are agility, endurance, intuition, logic, willpower, charisma, and luck. And finally, reputation and psionics. You start with 3 in all of them, except for reputation and psionics. There is no upper limit to attributes, which is awesome, as this is a dice pool game. The more you have in a stat determines how many dice you roll. If you have a 1 to 2 in a skill, you roll 1, basically.
Yep.
So it's not like each number means a certain dice. It's that when a number gets past a certain threshold, you can add an extra
I
dice.
see. Gotcha.
Yeah, so if you have a 3 to 5, you roll 2 dice, and 6 to 9, you add 3 dice, and so on.
Got ya.
And now we move on to your grade. This determines your maximum dice pool. It's kind of like your level, your starting level.
Okay. Yeah.
So your grade is measured by how many career grades you have. Most characters start with 5. Well, that's like the default, basically. Meaning that at character creation, they pick 5 careers. Now, this doesn't mean they've constantly been in and out of jobs. It can represent their hobbies too.
Got ya.
So you could even take, for example, gaming, and that can be something you did from the age of 4. You were just a child gaming.
Got ya.
And then you'll be good at gambling and shit.
Yep.
But you can put 5 into one career. So that's 5 grades, and then you just spend it all in one career.
one
So you're
career.
well good at that one.
Yeah. I got no hobbies.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
or
fair enough.
you could spend all 5 in different jobs. Still means the same thing when it comes to dice pools. It just means you're a grade 5 character.
Yep.
But picking your actual career comes slightly later. First, you have to determine your character's skills. This forms the other half of your dice pool. So you're rolling attribute plus skill plus gear always.
Well, every time. So you could be rolling quite a few dice then.
Yeah, it can get crazy.
Ah,
Like
nice.
there's an example of a hero later on. They say, Einstein, for example, would have had a 15 in intuition,
Yeah,
or logic, whatever.
Yeah. Got ya.
So the skill list is like basically completely open. It gives examples for sporting skills, athletic skills, crafting ones, combat ones, but any activity can be a skill. So if
Nice.
it's not on the list, you just have to make sure it comes under one of those groups.
Got ya. Yeah.
So that you can associate it to the right attribute.
Yeah, makes sense.
That's pretty much it. So
so every skill's linked to an attribute, right? Like other games we've played. So
yeah, pretty much.
Got ya. Right.
Yeah, exactly. But it can be open. The book gives fuckloads.
Yeah.
But it's open.
It's all there. Yeah.
If one that you, for example, like in the artistic ones, it lists calligraphy, modelling, or filmmaking, but pedigree dog grooming isn't in there, for example. But if you wanted it,
You can
whack
make it.
in there.
Yeah.
That's an artistic
That's
skill.
good. I like that. So it's open.
Yeah. And the amount of skills at this point is determined by your species, so it's time to pick your species.
Yay.
The default ones in the book are human, clone, mutant, robot, ape, chimp, ape, gorilla, and ape, orangutan. A lot of ape focus.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, but we'll get into those later because there is a reason why it's so ape-based.
Yeah.
But anyway, all of these species have their benefits. For example, humans gain +2 to luck and any other attribute of their choice, along with a +1 to any other attribute, and they may choose from any skills.
Nice.
Conversely, a mutant will have +2 to willpower, reputation, and endurance, but they only may choose from skills which fall under the umbrella of bluffing, disguise, running, or stealth.
Oh, okay.
Still, that's a wide array of skills you can choose, but those are the only ones you can choose. Everything else is going to be untrained.
Gotcha.
But careers can change that, so we'll get into that in a bit. But all characters also begin the game with a few exploits, which are like advantages from GURPS or edges from Savage Worlds.
Yeah.
Humans start with enduring, where they gain +1 to all attempts to shake off a condition. Chimps, however, start with a fuckload of exploits. Natural climbers can move in 0G without negative modifiers. They gain +5 to leaping, and they do +1 D6 with thrown weapons, because monkeys are all
Really good at throwing
shit.
stuff, aren't they?
Yeah. So that's awesome, and so that's basically the species. But a little explanation on apes, as I mentioned. Everyone knows what a mutant robot or a human clone is, but why are apes so heavily featured? Well, essentially, scientists boosted ape intelligence to normal human levels, and now Megacity has a prominent gorilla/chimp gang presence.
Brilliant.
So that's the explanation. It's basically Planet of the Apes, which is awesome. So if you wanted to play a Planet of the Apes style game,
That's really cool. So scientists made them more intelligent, and then it got to a point where they kind of started their own society.
now there's like gorilla mob bosses.
Nice. So you might walk into a bar and there'll be a big gorilla sitting in the corner smoking a cigar
Smoking
and
a
having
cigar
drink.
of a whiskey, yeah. And they look badass as well,
Yeah.
actually, if you've seen the artwork.
Yeah.
So now you have to kind of pick your hook. This is where the character creation gets a bit fucking convoluted, because
Right.
it tells you, if you look at the list of stuff you got to do, now you pick your hook, which is mad, because
Yeah.
you kind of have to add so much to it later. It ain't worth writing it in at this point.
Right.
But the hook is basically a simple paragraph written about your character for a little framework. For example, you could say Dirk Slazenger is a male judge who grew up as part of a chimp gang. Abandoned by his parents, he grew up brainwashed to think he was a primate. His early job was a boinger for a local basketball team.
Boinga, yeah.
So that's kind of the thing. You have to write a short blurb, and it has to be based on what's on your sheet.
I see. Yep.
So that you can easily explain it when
Connect
you
the
get to the
dots.
game.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at careers. A grade 5 character can pick 5, providing they hit the prerequisites. Then you apply any attribute adjustments that career gives you. So that's where, you started with 3 and everything.
Yep.
You get your bonuses for having a species, then you get a bonus for which career you pick,
Right.
which is pretty cool.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, you apply any attribute adjustments it gives you, pick 2 of the skills it gives you, and advance each of those skills by 1. And then also you get a career exploit.
Yeah,
There's a
okay.
big list of them depending on which career you've picked, and you pick 1. If you take like another rank in it, you do all the same shit again.
Nice.
So I've already mentioned boinger. So let's get into what like a career actually is, what it looks like.
Yeah.
Well, boing is a spray that encases your body in rubber. Then you play something called Palais de Boing, and you could be a human pinball, essentially.
Yeah.
If you choose that career, you'll enjoy +1 agility, +1 endurance, +1 luck, and +1 reputation.
Nice.
And then the skills you can choose are boinging, bravery, jumping, or perception. So that's kind of it. Then you
Yeah.
pick the exploit. That's
get it.
kind of how it works.
Yeah.
So just to give a couple more examples, you've got a psyker, a person with psionic abilities. You get a +1 to intelligence, luck, reputation, and psi. And the skill choices are bluffing, concentration, hypnotism, meditation, and negotiation.
Yeah. Like it.
Or what about gamer? We've already mentioned that one.
Yeah.
You can pick from a group of skills that fall under the umbrella of gaming, which is really broad, because
Yeah.
it can be anything from a League of Legends champion, a StarCraft player, to something like chess or poker.
Of course. Yeah.
They all come under gaming.
Yeah.
But careers in this game aren't necessarily all careers in the traditional sense. As I mentioned, they can simply represent your character's hobbies. So anyway, every time you pick a career, you gain the exploit, as I mentioned. So the gamer one, on the surface, might seem useless. You're just good at playing games. However, you can also get a choice of 4 exploits when you take it. So, for example, you get cheat. You know a couple of tricks. In a game of chance, you may re-roll any ones in your dice pool.
Ooh,
so
that's pretty decent, yeah.
Yeah, particularly good for gambling.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's Loan Shark as well. That's an exploit from gaming as well.
Okay.
You know a guy from gambling circles who can get you quick money if you need
Decent.
it. So if you just need like $60 to be able to afford a gun or whatever,
Yeah.
there you go.
In a pinch, I like it.
But let's talk about judge careers,
Ooh.
because the judges have special needs. No, they have special careers that
within the judge.
that only they
police
can take.
thing.
Yeah, and the funny thing is it works kind of differently. So,
Okay.
If you play a judge, well, that is a career rather than a hobby. So you
Yeah.
get access to judge-only careers, and judges have to take the origin career cadet. They have to,
Of course,
because
yeah.
that represents their early training.
Yep.
And then they have to also take 2 Academy of Law advanced programs. So that's 3 of your careers already used
Right,
up.
okay.
It kind of represents that outside of judging, you don't have that much time to do much. It
No.
also represents the intense training needed.
Yep.
So that's essentially it. And these things, like the applied judge programs, can be things like applied violence, advanced driving school,
Yeah.
citizen manipulation,
Brilliant.
or hot dog run.
What's that?
The hot dog run is basically where fledgling judges are like tested on their skills by being sent out into the wastelands to do a mission.
You can tell this is British, can't you?
You really
the words they use and stuff, and the names for stuff. It's
Because we in England we give nicknames to everything.
Everything,
Like
yeah.
even when you have like eggs on toast or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you have eggy in a basket and things like this. Like
in the basket.
yeah, so the hot dog run is that essentially. But while you're doing it, 2 senior judges are watching over you while you're in the lake
Ooh.
wasteland. So they'll stand there. If you die, you just die.
Fail.
yeah. They just stamp an F on your head.
Yeah.
Anyway, once a judge goes up in grade, they then can pick like they've advanced in rank essentially. And
Okay,
they can
yep.
kind of pick more advanced careers.
You're not a rookie anymore, then.
Exactly. So
Yep.
it represents you working your way up.
Yeah.
And those advanced careers are also, equally crazy.
Yeah.
So that's them going up through the ranks. Judges aren't the only ones that get specific careers, though. Criminals do too.
Wicked.
If you play a perp. So there's a load of those. But if we go on about careers all day, there's so many in the book.
Yeah.
We'll be here till
Big old book.
2099.
2099.
I fucked that joke up. Right, so now before we carry on with the book, we're just going to take a quick break and have a message from our sponsor.
Ooh.
You betray the law!
So the sponsor for this week's episode is 3T
Publishing.
Yeah, 3T Publishing. A bunch of great guys.
Great guys up there. Thanks very much for all the free stuff.
We'll keep this quick. Essentially, we've written a toolbox for OSR games that allows you to have random events in a town using the meanings of tarot cards.
Absolutely.
And they're absolutely nuts. The book is only £1.50 on DriveThruRPG. And if you're the type of person that feels like they don't want to donate on Patreon because it's too much of a commitment, you can support the show by buying that book.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
We'll hope you like it
And
too.
please let us know how you find it, because we'd love to hear a little bit. We've had a little bit of feedback come back and it's good so far, which we're really pleased about. But yeah, if you get it and wouldn't mind sending us an email, please let us know how you find it, because yeah, market research is always good.
We love the feedback.
Yeah, we love it.
Additionally, the boss of this network, Jamie Pearson, has
the big boss man.
He's been pretty angry recently because nobody has been shouting out other shows on the network. We haven't done it for about a year.
I'm joking.
I just want to say, let's go watch the Murder Hobo show on YouTube. It's fantastic. It's Gary doing tutorials on virtual tabletop. So, well worth a watch. And
Absolutely.
they're probably the best tutorials that exist out there for it at the
Also,
moment.
check out Finding the Narrative podcast.
I haven't listened to that one, but I assume it's. I've met the guys that did it, and they
It's
were
very
really
good.
nice.
It's
So
very
if their podcast is as good as they are nice,
Yeah, get
You're
over to
in for a
Nerd
good ride.
International. Nerd International. Go over to Nerds International.
and check all of those shows out.
Yes.
Right, enough of that shite. Let's get back on with the episode.
Where's the dagger? Right here, it's right here, it's right here. Give me the dagger. Thank you.
So we've mentioned exploits a lot. Like these are kind of like advantages or edges, that type of thing. Now, there are some universal exploits. Let's say, for example, you take a career and you don't like the exploits that it comes with.
Yeah.
You just want the career for the flavour.
Yeah.
And the stat upgrades. Well, you can choose a universal exploit instead. And these are just normal ones. There's bloody loads of them. These can be purchased either when your character levels up or instead of a career exploit, basically. Some universal exploits include Blind Shot, where you need 5 luck to qualify for it. But what this means is while in full cover, you can take a shot without looking at what you're shooting. You just roll luck instead of agility plus shooting. So you're just wild firing over the top of cover.
Putting the gun over and just shooting.
Yeah, and you can actually, that's actually like a legit strategy.
Well, it's clever that it needs 5 luck because it totally makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And another example is Lucky Escape. Once a day you can avoid damage from a single attack.
Ooh.
Really, really powerful, but you do need 8 strength to buy it.
Right.
So you're kind of just a real tough guy.
You can just suck it up.
Yeah, so you just get shot once and you just go, try it again.
Yeah.
Is that all he got, pussies?
But don't, because I can only do that once. And he runs off.
And then he runs.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that out of the way, the next thing is to determine your character's age. Next to each career, there's a number of years. So, for example, most of them are 1d6 years. So you might take, Boinga, and then you roll a d6, and that's how you determine your character's age. It means you can end up with really young characters or really old. And if you're old, you do get certain benefits and things like that. Mm-hmm. But once you've chosen the age, you have to add it to your hook. This is why I said earlier, don't write the hook at the beginning.
Do it at the end.
Yeah, follow my advice, do it at the end.
Yeah.
Now you have to choose 2 traits based on your highest and lowest attributes. Things like egotistical, distracted, disfigured, lame, inspiring, things like that. See, some good, some bad. Then you add those to your descriptor also. Then you determine your derived stats from your other stats. There's health, speed, carry, initiative, defense, mental defense, and vital defense.
Vital defense.
So for health, you roll endurance and will dice pools and add them together.
Okay.
Bingo, that's your health. Speed is equal to your strength and agility dice pool, and that's it,
Makes
and so
sense,
on.
yeah.
So you just do all of those.
Okay.
Now you record your dice pools. So the thing is, as I said before, the dice pools aren't determined on the number. They're determined kind of like you get a number of dice based on the number. It's not the number equals the amount of dice.
No, that's
you
right.
have.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
So
There's catchment kind of windows for how many dice you roll.
Exactly. And to make it easy, so you don't have to figure it out every single time, you just record all your dice rolls next to the skills and stuff like this.
And it tells you, exactly how many to pick up straight away. It's got a GURPSy vibe, doesn't it? This character creation.
It reminds me a little bit of Fusion as well.
Yeah,
but Fusion obviously ended up being quite a bad system because it had a lot of god stats in there. But this one kind of it reminds me a lot of Shadowrun too. The way because character creation in that was quite involved, streamlined, but also quite.
I like it though. I do like depth in character creation if the kind of subject's got a lot of depth.
If it's worth it, look at GURPS. I mean, we haven't played that nearly as much as we'd like, but that character creation. You are going to spend an hour on it.
Absolutely.
And there's no two ways about it.
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
And when you get into the game, it plays smoothly because everything's already done. You've calculated everything. You've done everything.
Yeah.
And I absolutely don't mind depth in character creation. I have to be in the mood for it.
Yeah,
but it's
totally.
absolutely fine.
So with this game, then you put a little bit of hard work in at the beginning, hopefully, and then once the actual game kicks off, it should be a lot smoother.
Well, we'll get to that because honestly, it is kind of like that, but not to spoil the rest of the podcast. But yeah,
we'll see.
Next, you determine your starting money, and it's different for judges. They roll the same thing, but it's treated more like requisition points.
Okay.
So the thing is that while let's say for example, you create a perp, then what you do is you roll starting money. That's your starting money.
Yeah.
Judges, they roll their starting money, and then every time they go out on a mission, that's how much they've got to spend on equipment.
Ah, right.
It represents the fact that in the comics and the movies, judges have essentially infinite access to equipment, and this kind of explains it and makes it more gamey.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that's kind of what you do, and then you just buy stuff.
Yeah.
So after that, after you've done that, you note down your attacks. So it's attribute plus skill plus equipment roll. Note all those down, but hang on. We haven't bought equipment, so do that. Record your attacks, and then you've got a character.
Right.
And we're done.
Okay.
So yes, it is a bit more involved, but the thing is, if listeners, I hope that you were kind of keeping up with that. But essentially, there's a little breakdown at the front of the book that tells you what to do, and it is one of those types of games where you have to flip between pages constantly. A bit like when in GURPS, Pathfinder, D&D.
There's just a lot.
There's a lot
in there. So
I would recommend, do a session 0 properly with this, and everyone sit down and then make your backstories and stuff, and just sit down, create a character. Just be aware that you're in for a good hour. But we like doing that. We like creating a good, deep character, and this allows that.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And do the hook at the end, not halfway through. Like
exactly.
It says. Because that's weird, isn't it? Because you might have a kind of idea in your head, and then all of a sudden, well, he's actually 75 years old, so that throws that one out the window.
I do like that because there's that one element of randomness.
Yeah, that's cool.
So I do like that. But that is essentially the whole of character creation, unless you've got a psionic person.
Oh, okay.
You see, when choosing any career, if you don't like the exploits it gives you, as I said, you can choose a universal one, but the psionic universal exploits are many pages later, not in the exploits section, which is the one thing I didn't particularly like about the character creation, because you might have chosen all your psionic careers, chosen all those exploits, and get to there and go, oh, fuck, there's this better one.
Yeah. Oh.
So just bear that in mind if you play the game, basically. Yeah, and so you can quickly swap them around if you want, and now you have a character. With that, we'll get to equipment and how to play the game, but that's the character creation process. So obviously this system is a little bit different. So how do you level up or advance characters? You gain new careers by just buggering off. You can do that. So 1d6 years for most. So let's say one session all the players agree to take a year off, well, they can do it, and it is exploitable, but it means that the game master should attempt to make adventures which are time sensitive.
Okay, yeah.
Because if the players go, yeah, we've got enough time to do this, let's take a year off, get a new career.
We're going to have a year off. Is that right?
Or up to 6 years, and then you just come back. This should be the kind of thing that's done at the end of a big adventure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
And make it time sensitive.
After they're battered and would need to take rest anyway.
Yeah, I mean, we did the same thing in Vampire, where people took a year off while somebody was in a coffin.
Yeah.
They, I forget what you call it, but instead of dying, you go into the coffin for a number of years.
Yeah, that's right. I forget what it's called.
You also earn experience points, obviously, but you get them for overcoming challenges, killing enemies, or getting to certain milestones. You can spend them on new career grades at 10 times the amount of the new grade, so essentially a grade 2 is 20 XP.
Yeah.
And XP is awarded for a number of reasons, as I mentioned. For overcoming a challenge, there's a table that helps the GM award XP based on the difficulty of the challenge. Or if the players have done a lot of research and planning, they also may gain XP. This actually gives XP for planning.
Excellent.
So that's awesome. So you can, and I think that's legit, right? Because if you're doing a heist, if you're playing a perp game, and you spend all day planning, well, of course you get some experience in planning, so you can get XP for that, which I think is great for those players that like to plan.
Oh, I love a plan session as well. Like, you know, when you've got like a big mission, a big master plan that needs to go off, and sometimes you might spend half a session, like, you know, planning it super finely, making sure nothing goes off with a hitch, and for that you get rewarded. So that's nice.
Same here, yeah, I like that, and it rewards a type of play that often goes unrewarded.
Excellent,
honestly.
That's really good. Yeah.
And the last one, obviously, as I mentioned, is completing a milestone. That's basically a major storyline completion. And you can use these points to enhance attributes also, which is cool.
Yeah.
So the next section of the book is equipment. There's a handy table for example salaries that people may get for their jobs, a big load of explanation, and then we're off to the races. The weapons all have a damage measured in amount of d6s, sometimes with a bonus like 2d6 plus 1, that type of thing. And you have things like laser knives, swords, energy nets, grapple guns, laser cannons, and electro beams.
Oh yeah.
When I imagine the electro beam, I imagined it playing electro music out of it, like the big beam of it.
Oh, and it shoots.
Yeah, so they're all pretty cool. And armour, the way it works in this, has a soak value, so it basically soaks up damage.
Okay.
A judge uniform, for example, has 5, so the first 5 points of damage do nothing.
And they have to hit over, so they might have to get 10 to actually hit you.
Yeah. Well, they basically, if they get a successful hit, they roll damage, and then your armour soaks some of it.
Oh, so if you hit for 10, they're only getting 5 damage because the armour soaks 5.
Yeah.
Got ya.
So, whereas a Radarak, which is a radiation-proof anorak with soak 1, so it only soaks 1 damage when you get hit, but it soaks 5 points of radiation damage.
Base damage, right? That's really
so
cool.
if a mutant chunders on you, it's like 5
you're laughing, yeah.
Yeah, so in the equipment section, obviously there's all types of equipments too. There's back glider suit boing cutters. This is for safely removing boing from an encased boinger. And of course, boing spray for applying boing.
Boing.
And that is the most I've ever said boing in a single day before. There's the Holo Guys, a holographic disguise kit. Or how about the Psi Scram helmet, which boosts your mental defense against Psi attacks.
Nice.
So they try to get in all they hear is static. Needless to say, the equipment is awesome, and there's some decent robust rules for customizing gear too, like adding scopes to guns, adding chameleon effects to armor.
Ooh.
And there's also really cool drugs. Not that drugs are cool.
No.
They're not cool, but these ones are cool.
Stay in
they're
school.
Fictional. Yeah, stay in school, don't do fictional drugs. Boosters, for example, are low-level street drugs that boost strength or stamina, but there's appetite inducers, amnesia drugs, tranquilizers, truth drugs, and lastly, Ziz, a recreational hallucinogenic. The reason I included as like one of my highlights appetite inducers is because I'm trying to figure out a use for those. But I like those type of items that exist in a world, and then players will find a use for it.
Oh yeah, totally.
They'll always find a use for it. This is why sometimes in loot, when you're playing a fantasy game, include some just mundane stuff.
Weird shit.
They'll find a use for it.
Yeah, they'll use it. Yeah.
Appetite inducers. I can't figure out a way to use them, but I think that's a
There
really
could be
cool
some
item.
type of mission where they've got it could be an assassination. So you poison some food and then you give them an appetite inducer, they're going to eat it.
Oh, yeah, good idea.
There you
Good
go,
idea.
done.
There you go, you've done it.
Administered.
Yeah, or it could be an eating competition and you're illegally
You
using
want to
it.
win. Yeah, it's like doping.
Yes.
Wicked.
And there's also cyberware.
Yes.
So I knew that was your next question.
Of
Where's
course.
the cyberware?
Where's my cyberware?
Okay, so you can get artificial limbs with claws. You know, every fucking game with cyberware has to have the Wolverine claws.
Of course.
But retinal implants, hello. Voice synthesizer, yes please. Basically, most of the ones you'd expect to find can be found, but it's by no means an extensive list.
Okay.
But it's all the ones you would expect from cyberware.
Your staples.
Yeah, your staples. It's all there. And, you know, voice synthesizers are always fun.
Yeah, of
if
course.
you want to be a Batman type character. Vehicles, as you can imagine, are cool too. The Justice Department includes one called the Killdozer. And I had to read up on this one because I was like, is it like that real one? Do you remember that? Where the guy encased a fucking bulldozer in concrete and he destroyed his old place of work and did 13 million pounds of
I
damage.
think I did, yeah.
Yeah. It's
Brilliant.
not quite like that.
Oh.
It's basically a bulldozer fitted with rocket launchers. Which is
fair
a
enough.
bit better. If that guy had the rocket launchers, he would have used them.
Yeah, that's true.
And there's the Manta Prowl tank, which fans of the series will immediately recognise. It's a huge tank with the classic red and black aesthetic. It has a huge crew of 18 people, and it's got stun gas, riot foam, heavy laser cannons. This
Nice.
is your... if the city's rioting, you bring one of these
You bring
out.
one of them out there.
And when people, and if people aren't playing ball, it's when you use the laser cannon. You're switching off the foam, you're going to the laser cannon. Civilian ones include normal stuff, automobiles, power boards, juggers, normal stuff.
Oh, of course, yeah.
Juggers are basically often driverless trucks, so you can
Right.
use these to send packages or you can drive in them yourself. Power boards are sky surfing devices. You stand on it and using anti-grav technology you fly about.
Oh, I would like think back to the future.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And so vehicles are cool. There's a big table of them and they're all brilliant.
Wicked.
But we've been through everything the game has to offer, but haven't even touched on how it plays. That's because now the book is where it gets to that. We've seen an example of play, but don't actually know about the nitty-gritty. So let's give a little example here. First up is attribute checks. Let's say the GM wants you to drive a car. Well, then you roll agility plus driving.
Yep.
Simple. Or maybe you want to make a speech to your subordinates, charisma plus leadership.
I see, yeah.
Add together the pulls from both things, roll and see if you beat the target number made by the GM. The book gives the example that challenging is a difficulty score of 13, so that should be associated with something like moving a boulder.
Okay.
That's exactly
right.
what the book says. Like that's how difficult that is. Easy is a 7, superhuman is a 37.
Oh, yeah, gotcha.
And in this, you roll a dice pool. But it's not like Shadowrun where you're looking for certain numbers, like 5s and 6s, or Vampire where you're doing the same thing. In this, you just add it all together.
Oh, I see. It's a grand total.
Yes. So this is where if you've got really big dice pools, dice rolling apps may come in handy.
Yes.
If you don't want to sit there adding all of them
That's a
up.
good point, yeah.
Yeah. So a crit is when a 666 is rolled. So you can roll 7 dice as long as you've got 3 6s
That's
in
a
there.
crit.
I think that's how it works.
Yeah,
So
fair
don't
enough.
quote me on that.
Yeah.
But of course, there's extended tasks, rolling as a group, helping another person out. But that's all kind of the basic way the game is played.
Yeah, cool.
The other thing I should note is your dice pool has a maximum that's
Okay.
based on your grade. So if you have 6 in agility, 6 in driving, well, it don't matter. You roll 5.
Okay.
So that sort of caps your dice rolls.
I see.
If you're grade 10, you can roll up to 10 dice on any roll.
Yeah, I see.
And that's it. So with that, let's get into combat.
Ooh, yeah.
So I'll just go through like a basic turn order, and it's really simple stuff. First, everyone rolls their initiative to determine what order you go. Then you do that just by rolling intuition. On a tie, compare agility. Then everyone acts on their turn. You get 2 actions. So you can take 2 moves, 2 shootings, a move and fire, whatever. Move and fire. For the Alan Partridge fans out there. Then once you're done, you do it all again. You roll melee attacks by comparing strength to or agility with an appropriate skill against the target's melee defense. And then for ranged attacks, it's agility or intelligence plus appropriate skill versus their ranged defense.
I see, yeah.
One thing I didn't mention about character creation is aiming and feinting. You pick the aim or feint maneuver, that's FEINT, at character creation. It takes an action, not a turn, and you can aim your weapon or feint and get an opening on another character. Then you gain a +1 d6 to an attack roll.
That's pretty cool.
So aiming's for guns, feinting is for
Fighting.
Fighting.
Yeah.
Yep.
bobbing and moving.
Yeah, so on a turn, if considering you can take 2 actions, you can aim and fire in one turn, or if you're feeling a bit more lucky, you can go 2 fires and do a double tap.
Like it.
And there's a maneuver called Overwatch. Anyone can do this. So basically, you ready a weapon and fire on anyone who enters your line of sight. This will usually be someone who decides to leave cover. They have to have left cover completely, and you have to have taken the Overwatch action.
So you're on Overwatch.
You're on Overwatch, yeah.
That's really cool. I like that.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It really makes for dynamic, cool gunfights.
Yeah.
Like, people don't want to leave cover, but if their mate's down and they have to, they can take the risk of being overwatched.
That's wicked. I like that.
Yeah, so this is, as I say, it's usually when somebody decides to leave cover and run across the battlefield or charge towards you, and you can overwatch against a number of targets equal to your intuition score in any turn. Ooh. So throughout that turn until your next turn, if you've got an intuition score of 4, you can take that action on 4 people, an attack of opportunity. Yeah.
Nice.
So it means that the no man's land in a battlefield is a deadly area. You don't want to be in there.
You can have some really cool battles, like standoffs and stuff.
It's a really, really clever mechanic and very cinematic.
Can you imagine being out in an old grimy city down an alleyway and you've got like a standoff between 2 gangs or judges and perps?
Exactly. And you know that if you move out, you might risk being hit by the Overwatch.
Yeah, that's sick.
And you could also use suppressive fire, which is awesome. You can designate one teammate and keep them safe with cover fire. In doing so, they gain the bonus of cover even if they aren't in it. So essentially, if you know that they're overwatching, or if you have the suspicion that they're overwatching, use some suppressive fire, then they don't count as being out of cover, so they can easily leg it across the battlefield while you're just popping off shots.
Because you're too busy shooting at the Overwatch guy who's trying to find you, so the guy who's in cover can run without being shot at. I love it. That's quite tactical. It's clever.
Really brilliant. Really, really brilliant. And now, one important thing is your luck score. You can spend dice from that pool on rolls. So let's say you got a luck of 5. You can spend one of those dice on any roll. And if you have 3 luck, by all means, spend it on a single important roll. If that roll is really important, spend all 3 on that one roll.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't take you over your maximum, your grade maximum. Mm-hmm. So that's about the basics of the game. I can't remember when you recover luck, and I can't be bothered to look it up. But I know that you do. Oh no, it's every day. Every day.
Oh, so new day.
Yeah,
what,
so
resets, or you get a certain, you do a roll, whatever.
It's a new game day, so you get all of them back. And,
okay, that's pretty cool.
But the thing is that may lead to characters waiting till the next day. But remember, time-sensitive missions. I think that's a big thing you need to do in this.
So it might even be good to, the old terrifying GM tactic that you like when you bang a timer on the table. For no reason.
get a damn timer.
Get a timer out.
Yeah, because often I do that in dungeons, right? So I might say, I might put a timer down where you guys have some intuition. Something's going to happen.
Well, that's all we know. You never tell us why. It'd just be a 30-minute timer goes down. You're like, right, well.
Yeah, so like in Death Frost Doom, for example, I put a timer down, and then it was every half an hour a skull would fall down, you knew something bad would happen at the end of that.
Mate, but it does give a kind of feeling of urgency to the party, and especially if a game like this where there are not exploits, but you just got to think what game you're running.
You just got to think what game you're running. That's exactly right. Because the thing is, it's a very, very robust game, and it clearly does what it does really well. Like the basics of a shootout in this game is just insane.
Oh mate, it sounds really fun.
That's basically it for the whole game. And the one last thing to mention is the presentation, which is probably the nicest book I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's incredible. If you're a fan, old school fan.
Yeah, if you like the old comics, in terms of sticking to the trade dress of the original comics, I don't think anyone's done it better.
No, I think that's nailed
it. Well, because as we know, it's published by 2000 AD.
Yeah.
So who they know their material because they are their material. Because
it is theirs. Yeah. No, but it's I think it's a must. If you were a Judge Dredd fan, you will not be disappointed with this.
Even just a read through, I used to read Judge Dredd as a kid. Like I don't remember it that much. Nowadays, I've read the most minimal amount of 2000 AD, but going back and diving in, seeing how the equipment works, how the power stacks up to other things, the descriptions, it's such a fun read.
I didn't read so much Judge Dredd. Ryan was a big Judge Dredd fan, but I liked ABC Warriors, which is from the same world. I used to read a lot of that, and that was really cool. It was like a medieval sci-fi. It was excellent.
It mentions it in that book.
If I remember rightly, ABC Warriors, one of the main guys almost looked like Conan, but he was beating up robots with his sword. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and there's Slain as well, which is like a barbarian type thing.
Yeah.
But I can't remember the description, but I think shit travels through time and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. It's cracking. It's so good.
It's such a great product. But there was something, because you kickstarted it, didn't you? So what did you get in the Kickstarter package?
It was nice. It was good actually. So with the Kickstarter package, we got the core book, hardback, full colour. We got a supplement, which is the Robot Wars, and also I believe there was a token set, a GM screen, and something else I can't remember. But
man, that GM screen, it's got the proper comic book font on the back. Like, it's so nice, man.
It's really cool. But the Robot Wars wicked. So the Robot Wars is just a supplement. It's pretty thick, to be fair. It's about 100 pages.
So is Robot Wars a different setting, or is it a setting within Judge Dredd?
It happens within Judge Dredd, and it's actually something that's part of the timeline. So basically, as I'm sure you're aware from reading the core book, robots are treated like subhumans people. They are. Because life's so hard in Mega City 1, and people are angry that the robots have taken all their jobs, but at the same time they're too lazy to do the jobs of the robots, so they take out their frustration on robots. No one would butt an eyelid if there was a Coke machine that someone just smashed the crap out of, because they can, and that's how cute robots are treated, sadly. And something happens, and there's a rebellion and an uprising, and you get the rise of Call Me Kenneth. And Call Me Kenneth is a robot that basically rebels and raises an army, and there's a huge, war in Mega City 1 between the judges and the robots. And you have some robots that stay loyal to the humans, you have other robots that go over to the robot side, the insurgency, and then there's this huge war, and yeah, it's nuts, and it tells you the whole timeline, goes into great detail, it shows you all different types of robots in there. There's like movements, some for like robots' rights and stuff, some against robots. You've got political kind of stances on the whole situation.
You can kind of tell, like, because cyberpunk and futuristic stuff like this tends to highlight faults with today's society. And you can tell how British this is. I'm not really going to go into it, but the Robot Wars thing really reminds me of a lot of things that go on in this country.
Absolutely,
right.
And
it's that's what I like about it. If you want something with unique flavour, you're unlikely to find anything like 2000 AD, because it's so uniquely British.
It really is. Look at Krong. Krong is a giant anatomical gorilla that was used in basically making King Kong films, but he's actually a character in it as part of the Robot Wars.
So he got upset that he was being pushed around. That's epic, man.
But it's very British, very grim, very gritty.
Yeah,
pretty fantastic, really.
I can't wait to play it. As I was reading it, one of the things like that I was thinking was, because of how simple, great the system is to run, I couldn't wait to actually run it. I know it's your game, but
no, please do. I'd love you to run it.
I'm definitely going to buy a copy of this and run a game.
Why don't you do a one shot for us?
I'll do it.
Out of nowhere, surprise the group. Just be like, it's Judge Dredd.
We're playing Judge Dredd tonight. Maybe the characters in our fantasy
Ryan
game
would shit his pants. If
he would love it.
Him. Yeah.
I think everyone should go out and give that a buy, because it looks fantastic.
I think you can get hold of it now, because they were very, very in the whole campaign for the Kickstarter. They was like very much saying, like, as soon as this launches, it's all ready to go. So I think they used the Kickstarter to more raise awareness, because the product was ready as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. And they basically sold. It was to sell the original copies. And then to get the word out there, and hopefully it's working, because this looks fantastic,
really
and
does.
I really want it to be supported, so that they release the Halo Jones.
I was about to say, you're going to want the Halo Jones.
That's the fucking shit, man. It's so funny.
It's so good. And check out the Strontium Dog fan movie if you haven't on YouTube. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that got sent to me by Mornay of Just Insert Imagination, and he's a massive Strontium Dog fan,
right?
And that's like, it's got a very Judge Dredd type aesthetic, but it's like post-apocalyptic, and it's more about in the wasteland.
It's fantastic.
Good.
It's very good.
Anyway, so that's Judge Dredd, the role-playing tabletop adventure game RPG 2000 AD Worlds. Go out and get it.
Go out and get it. And if you've never, ever even heard of Judge Dredd, where the hell have you been? But if you haven't heard of Judge Dredd, do yourself a favour. Do not watch the 1995 Sylvester Stallone movie. Go and check out the 2012 Keith Urban playing Judge Dredd movie. It's way more truer to the source material, and the main thing is he don't take his helmet off.
It's funny that you say that, because, I obviously watched the Stallone one when I was a kid, right? And I was big into Judge Dredd at the time. Like, I read them all, because my mum works in the library.
Yeah.
And I remember at the time loving it, but I think I was just a kid with, like,
and it was Sly. He was in all the action films. You were like,
Exactly. I would have just watched anything with even if it was like the worst produced thing. I used to watch the fucking Adam West Batman.
Oh mate, yeah, but
So-
that's great. But no, but it makes me laugh though, because I wasn't a big Dredd fan, and at the time I probably liked, enjoyed the film. And then I remember I might have even been right going, no, it's rubbish. He takes his helmet off, and I'm like, what do you mean? It's like Judge Dredd never takes his helmet off.
That's a
And
good
it's
point.
Like, oh yeah, and then you watch the 2012 one, and he never takes his helmet off.
Yeah.
So yeah, go check out 2012 one. It's fantastic. If you like The Raid, you'll love that. It's the same film.
Yeah, the raid was pretty enjoyable.
Yeah, it's pretty much the same film.
All right. Anyway, we're getting off topic. Let's dive into a new segment.
Yeah.
Draw your weapon and make it as smooth as you possibly can. So draw, hold, fix and fire, and then just move and fire and move and fire.
So the family emergency that I mentioned earlier was kind of like my wife's been in hospital recently. I won't go into any more detail than that, but to celebrate her return, I thought I'd include her in a segment. Use her for cheap labour.
There you go.
So this is Wi-Fi signal, and essentially what it is that my wife has looked at the covers of role-playing games,
Yep.
and you have to guess which one they are from her description.
Okay.
So I did say the caveat is she's only got 30 seconds for each one.
Yeah.
And she can't say the name, obviously.
Okay.
So here we go. Here's the first one.
There's a face of a man that looks like a meme about to get attacked by an ogre with a mohawk of a two-tone variety. He has a mace. There's a lizard with an erect tongue getting slashed in the throat by a little troll man with an orange mohawk with a tattooed head.
What's that then?
No, that's Warhammer.
Yes, well done. Well done. Did you get it from the meme face?
Yeah.
'Cause there's that guy on the cover of the Warhammer First Edition where he looks like he's being choked by like a big ogre, but he looks like he's loving
Really
it.
enjoying it.
That's his thing.
And
That's
he also
where he
looks
discovered.
a lot like our mate James.
He really does look like James. All right, next. Whoa.
Whee!
All right, next one.
It's mainly blue, seascape, with indigo tones at the top, mountains, and what look like conifer type trees, but they can't be because they must be in the sea. And there's a tiny little boat.
That's the next one. Tiny little boat.
Tiny little boat. 50 fathoms?
No, you're wrong. That was Call of Cthulhu, and
Really? What one?
yeah, it's a 6th edition. It's the one. I have.
Oh yeah, that one's really good.
See,
That's got the best cover.
It has got the best cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew that would be difficult
Sixth
because you've got
edition.
7th edition.
Yeah,
So yeah, you'd be
done
more
me
used
there.
to.
Yeah.
All right, next one.
Go on.
There's a man shooting a gun with his left hand, and with his right hand he has a sword. This wouldn't work. He's holding a crucifix on a string, and he looks like he should be in the crucible. And there are some ghoul type things looking angry.
Ghoul type things. That is Simon Cowell.
Yeah, well done. Well done. You clearly know your stuff, man.
Oh,
But,
yeah.
Yeah, that was... She. As soon as she looked at it, she just looked at it with like this puzzled look because she was just like, well, that is fighting stance. It's all wrong.
It's all wrong.
Yeah, anyway, next one.
There's some sexual tension in this picture. She's a sexy spaceman with a gun, space lady with a gun, and holding a helmet. And he looks like he should be an Alien versus Predator. He's got some funky furry boots and a double-headed axe and a sword on his back. And there's 3 different landscape images in the background.
That's it.
That's easy. That is Savage Worlds Deluxe Edition.
Very good, man.
Yeah.
Very good. Maybe I went too easy on this one.
Yeah, well, yeah, you went for the common ones.
Yeah,
The
I
ones
did.
you should have gone for the ones I don't own. Well, that's why you done me.
Well, that's
Call
it.
of
'Cause
Cthulhu.
Otherwise, you just wouldn't have got them.
No, that's true.
Like, let's take one at random, for example. Look at this one. Imagine trying to describe GURPS cyberpunk.
It's just like an egghead man on the front.
It's a big blue head with loads of wires sticking out of it. And on the front, actually, this is a side note, but it does say the book that was seized by the US Secret Service. Yeah, because he was doing so much research into Illuminati shit for the book.
They were like, hello.
Yeah, they thought he was a spy.
The old FBI called up.
Yeah. All right, next one. Let's get to the last one.
Okay, let's go.
There's a door with a face. Oh. And there's a figure standing at the top of some steps, and there's a gap between him and the door. The door looks like a stone robotic type thing.
BCC.
Yeah. Yeah, that
I
was
can
funny.
never forget Doorface.
Yeah, because she started laughing because she said she was reminded of that video I made where I made it talk.
Yeah, that was cracking me up.
All right, so
I like that.
Wi-Fi signal. You got 4 out of 5.
Yay!
Well done. That's the first time I've ever managed to keep track of the score.
Yeah, I got some points there.
Well done.
Excellent.
You know what points mean?
Fuck all.
Fuck all. Yes, exactly.
I'm attacking the darkness.
Right, so this is another Judge Dredd inspired quiz. Very straightforward. I'm going to read a quote to you, and you need to tell me whether it's from the shit film or the good film.
That's fucking brilliant. All right, sweet. I'm in.
Okay, so first one.
Emotions. There ought to be a law against them.
That's Stallone, man.
Yep.
That's easy.
The legendary Angel family. Cursed earth pirates. Murderers. Scavengers. Oh, and of course, scumbags.
It sounds kind of cool. So I'm going to go with 2012 film.
No, that was Sly.
Shit.
This isn't a negotiation.
Is that it? This is... Okay. Right. Just because of law of averages, I am going to go 2012 film.
Yeah, well done.
I've got one.
It's judgment time.
Stallone.
No.
Damn it.
Keith Urban.
It's judgment time.
Yep.
Man, this game is going to be fun to play.
Attempted murder of a judge. Sentence. Death.
Stallone.
No.
Fuck. I'm terrible at this.
Gotcha. Next one.
There's a maniac on the loose in the city.
I'm going to go... That might... Oh, man, these are hard.
I know.
I thought it was going to be like that. There's a maniac on the loose in the city, and I'm looking at him, and he's looking in a mirror or something.
Oh, God.
All right, 2012.
No, 95.
Oh, my God.
I never broke the law. I am the law.
Stallone.
Yes.
I think a bullet will... Hold on. I think a bullet will interfere with them.
Stallone.
No.
Oh, God.
12.
This is the hardest quiz ever known to man.
And the last one.
It's all a deep end.
That's classic, man. I think that's going to be Stallone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there you go.
That's such
They're all
a
pretty bad, actually, because when I first thought of it, I thought, right, well, you know, I'm hoping there'll be some really snappy quotes from the new one, because it's good, and some really bad quotes, but they're all quite shit.
They're quite similar. Yeah, but then from what you said, the 2012 one seems like it just does the action and the world a bit better.
Yeah, exactly.
So the lines are always going to be cheesy.
Yeah.
It's Judge Dredd.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
called Judge Dredd, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, very true.
But it kind of reminds me, I don't know why, but you know, when I think of Stallone, I always think of like all of the other action heroes like that, like Jean-Claude Van Damme and, you know, Steven Seagal, right?
Yeah.
And for some reason, this is non sequitur story, but I feel like the people of this podcast should know it. But apparently, there was an interview done a while ago with Steven Seagal, right?
Yeah.
And the interviewer said they set up an interview at a time while he was filming a film, and they were going into his trailer to interview him. When she came in, he was crying, right? And he was holding a script, and she says, "What's that?" And he goes, "It's the most beautiful thing I've ever read." And she goes, "Oh yeah, who wrote it?" And he goes, "I did."
Mate, it's funny you should mention that, because it does tie in quite nicely to what I was looking into. So I was doing a little bit of research into the old Sly film and the new Judge Dredd film, and apparently when Sly, so the director of Judge Dredd, the original film, was in constant conflict with Sly, because basically Sly read the script and saw it as a dark comedy and thought the whole film should be more funny, and kept trying to rewrite the fucking script.
So would that explain why his acting was quite... I mean, he's not a great actor anyway, but would that explain why his acting is kind of bad in that movie?
Yeah.
Like, because he was going for laughs.
He thinks he's being funny.
I'd like to rewatch it with that in mind, actually.
Yeah, watch it again. So his idea. So clearly he didn't know anything about Judge Dredd until we read the script and just made his own decision and started fighting with the director. Watch the film. It's not. I mean, you know, I enjoyed it as a kid, and I'll tell you what. The thing that stuck with me the most is the CGI for War Machine, if I remember rightly, or whatever he's called, that big robot thing, was really good.
Yeah, and there was a lot of practical special effects.
Yeah.
The only one I can realistically remember is when there's an explosion, he rides his bike through it, but it was still cool.
Yeah, but look, if you haven't, go watch both of them.
Yeah.
They're both good in their own right.
And if you're not read up on your Steven Seagal stuff as well, go and do that.
Oh, God,
you're in for a laugh there, where he killed a dog with a tank.
What?
Did you not hear about that?
No.
So he was doing a program where he was made an honorary police officer, but he's all fat and aging.
Yeah, I know.
And there was like even bits during the program where it's like Seagal scents would come on, and they'd clearly put an effect over it, and then they'd film the perps. And it's like him looking out the window, and he's like, and he goes like clearly scripted events. He goes, "I think he's over there," and he always says to people like, he'll be arresting like black guys, and he'll be like, "Hey, don't worry about it, brother. You're on a bad path, man, but you can get off that path, brother." And it's just like, shut up,
Steve.
But anyway. anyway, there was one bit where they were kind of there was like as far as I recall, a drug smuggling operation, right? And he went to go and bust it, and they pulled out the tank, despite the fact that the police would never do that, but because the show was funding it, and Seagal drives it into the bloke's house and kills his dog. I know.
Oh my God, Steve.
No, it was a cockfighting operation. That was the funny thing about it, because he
So
was
it's
trying
the
to
same
save some
animal,
animals.
he killed
and
one in the process. The man's best friend.
Man, there's so many tangents this time. Right, we're going to stop this. We're going to move on to your correspondence with Electro Letters.
Oh God, yes.
In the future, you will be able to send a letter or parcel from anywhere on the planet. This, sir, is the Electro Letter. So, for this Electro Letters, we asked you what are the best and worst magic items you have ever seen in an RPG.
Yeah.
Nick actually came up with a better Judge Dredd related question, but I'd already put this one out.
We'll do it next time.
Yeah, we'll do
Anyway,
it next time. So, first up, Sean Hunt, he comes in and he says, the deck of many things has never been rivaled in terms of power and craziness.
Can't argue with that.
Can't argue with that. The thing is, it is a one-use thing. Put it in a game, and you can't do it again, really. But
No.
if you run a separate campaign, you can't put it in again. It can be like the central item for a campaign.
Yeah, you definitely.
Because when you guys got it, it was such a brilliant kind of revelation, and oh shit, this can do bad things and good things. And whenever you were really, really down on your luck, when it was your last resort, you put a card, and it was so exciting.
Until it got given to a madman.
Yeah, Ryan's
Just pulling them out all over the place.
Ryan was about to die, basically. He was in this room of challenges, like in a dungeon, and he was about to die. And he started pulling them out. You know, like how when you see rappers fanning money with their hand.
He was doing out the deck of anything.
Yeah, and he basically died. No, he didn't die.
He went to another dimension.
He went to another dimension, got attacked by a beast so large it was like city-sized.
Yep.
Then he went down 2 levels. Then he pulled another one and... Yeah, that was while he was falling.
Yeah, that was it.
Yeah, then he pulled another one and he lost his corporeal form. He was just the ghost.
Yeah.
But there was another one still floating in the air from where he'd been pulling them out, and that one sent him back to your dimension again.
Yeah, that was
so
it.
The funny thing is that what happened throughout all of that is he just lost his body.
Yeah,
that was it.
Yeah,
it resulted in
a
him
roundabout way. Yeah,
and he was so upset. He was like, I can't bloody do anything.
So what can I do now then?
All I can do is talk.
He was like, yep.
Lewis Pineda, he says, a snow shovel. Now, it ain't what you think, listeners. He says it was a shovel that turned dirt into snow.
Oh.
I thought it was stupid until I realised the utility against fire creatures.
Ooh.
Worse was a cloak of rain. You put it on and you would get wet from it raining inside the cloak. We tried to use it to put out fires, but it only worked on people.
No, so just burnt.
Yeah.
I got just the thing.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Well, we burnt the cloak. Owen Lean, he says, Dr. Spectacular's translation glove. So Dr. Spectacular was one of these eccentric explorer types in one of his game. Anyway, the glove lets anyone understand you and you them, but to activate it, you have to slap them in the face. I'm a big fan of magic items that have a caveat.
Yeah.
I like that. Like, oh, this sword, like, if you give somebody a +1 sword, give them a +1 sword, but... Yeah, always add a but. You know?
Yeah.
But you
Balance.
have the appearance of a gnome.
Yep.
I don't know, anything.
Anything, but yeah, give it. Yeah,
I love those types of things.
Me too.
Eric Lamoureux, his answer, he says, they all suck fucking Munchkin trophies.
Whoa.
He's not a fan of magic items. He doesn't like them. And I think... For a lot of people, can bring imbalance to the game because the players have powers that allow them to get around certain situations.
It's just about bad experience of an item.
But I like that. I like it when the players have these items that throw the enemies for a loop.
Yeah, and when you as a GM go, holy shit.
Yeah, oh shit, they've used it in this really ingenious
I did
way.
think of that, yeah.
Like, I remember in a DCC game, I once included a bunch of really gonzo magic items, and one was a pair of gloves, and one glove would always point to the other.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I can't remember who got it, but they're like, this is fucking useless. But when you realise you can put one glove somewhere, and then the other glove will point at it, and you go, oh, I know the way now.
Yeah,
it's that direction, as the crow flies anyway. Yeah, and the thing is, if you don't like magic items in the traditional sense, make ones that have very small utilities and allow the players to use them. Like you had one that was a dancing frog when you got it out, and you could use it to entertain children or something.
I've got a cat, haven't I? Don't you remember? I've got this cat. I've got this little thing that if I put it on the floor, cats turn up.
Yeah, it's a cat ring.
Yeah, that's a
It
cat
doesn't
ring,
do
yeah.
anything when it's on your finger, but when you take it off, cats turn up.
It's
And the thing is, if you don't like traditional magic items that make the characters too powerful, little ones like that, the
funny
players
ones.
will find ways to use
Or the
them,
belt we've got, that's cool.
Oh, the gender-changing belt.
Gender-changing belt.
Yeah, that was funny, man. I liked it, and I'm sorry if this is mildly sexist, but I liked it because one of the female characters put it on, and she was like, "Why do I suddenly feel an urge to have sex with everything and eat and drink and watch sports?"
Yeah, I like sports all of a sudden. I need to take this off.
Yeah, and yes, that is sexist.
Very
sorry.
funny, but funny.
John Steve, he says, in my first evolution of being a DM, 1980, I naively created an amulet and... Fucking kids outside.
Shut up.
I naively created an amulet of disintegration. The rest of the group was not pleased, and because we rotate through DMs with the same characters, another DM was able to remove it from the game.
What the hell's that?
It brings to mind, there's a monster in old D&D, and I think they're in a lot of new OSR games as well, called the Rust Monster.
Okay, yeah.
Whenever the players are too powerful and they've got too much good gear, chuck a Rust Monster at them, and their gear disintegrates.
Oh.
That was always the old thing. That's
Yeah.
what people do. So I think he did that. Like, obviously, the players had it on them. But surely if it started disintegrating your equipment, you just chuck it away.
Yeah. Maybe I didn't think of that. I like this amulet, but everything else keeps breaking.
Look, I have to deal with it. I'm so fashionable right now with this amulet.
It's a must.
Yeah, I don't know, man. There's a good one here from Terry Hansen, a little bit of a long one, but I quite like this one. He says, I have a soft spot for the peripat of rotting from the second ed AD&D. I just started playing D&D and I only had my friend Matt to play games with. I thought this cursed item would be an awesome story development and just delightfully nasty. Yeah, when he started rotting and couldn't take the item off, he pretty much quit playing until I promised he'd never get the item again. It's not so much a magic item, but it was hallucination poison in D&D 3.5 as well. I loved filling a dungeon with this insanity gas, and all the players were certain they were surrounded by enemies, but were just hacking at themselves.
Oh, I like that.
That's
I like
nasty,
that. Little
man.
mind game.
Yeah, so he obviously likes to throw the curveballs in there.
I like that.
Terry, you're evil.
Yeah, Terry, get help.
Get out.
No, I like Terry.
He's good, man.
He likes my cat.
He likes your cat. Well, yeah, then that makes him a good guy. And then we got a couple of normal questions, just regular questions.
Just
for us.
regos.
Before we get into those, let's have a little discussion. What's your favourite magic item you've ever seen in a game?
I remember one from a long time ago that was good. What was that? That glove of dueling. Do you remember?
Oh, the glove of dueling from our DCC campaign. If you slapped somebody with it, they would... I think it was that they would be immediately attracted to you, wasn't it?
I mean, I'll do what you
no,
say.
No, that was separate. No, it was if you slapped somebody with it, they would feel an insatiable urge to focus on you and fight you.
That was it, yeah,
It's
that
a
was
really,
fun.
really good way to draw aggro in a fight.
That's it.
If other people was focusing on other people, you just slap them with that.
Yeah, just slap him with that glove of dueling. There was another one as well that was awesome.
There was a good one from that DCC campaign that I liked, that you guys never bought, but it was the bagpipes of stealth, and you would be undetectable. But obviously you had to play the bagpipes really loud for it to work. So it was just a completely That's like a wizard's failed experiment.
I did like the bubble gun.
The bubble gun was good. You know what? Actually, it's kind of a magic item, but the anything detector.
Oh.
I actually made it as an artifact for MCC.
Yeah.
You put any object into the chamber on the front, pull the trigger, and it will detect that object within a 100-mile radius.
Beep.
Yes.
Beep.
The creator's voice was recorded instead of an actual beep, so it goes beep 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 beep.
Yeah, it's very good. It was very. There's too many, man. We've had some fantastic ones over the years.
There's one magic item that you guys have got on yourselves at the moment in the campaign that you didn't think to get identified, and I won't tell you what it is. But one of them, it's just a very mundane item that you guys picked up, and I know none of you have used it yet.
What, last session, or we had it for a while?
I ain't going to tell you.
Oh, it's it's either that statue thing or that necklace.
Well, we'll see. So on to the normal questions. Michael Hassenstab. He says, how do you handle running a game where other judges, DMs or GMs are playing
seem to want to help run your game for you, so interrupting your game, I guess, when you're playing with other GMs.
Yeah,
doesn't happen.
It's called backseat DMing, and I think I have been guilty of it, not in the past, but the thing I put it is this way, is that, like, there are two versions of this.
Yeah.
There's the guy that's saying this is how you should do it, and then there's the guy that when they see the GM is struggling to find a rule, they tell them, bit of coaching, things
That's
like that.
what I prefer. So a lot of the time, Harrison will be way more au fait with the rules than I will be in running a game, and more often than not, I'll be like, mate, I might need to just get a little bit of coaching as we go for a few snap kind of rules and stuff, and I prefer that.
It's evolved now to the point where, like, you feel comfortable, like, mid-game just saying, Harrison, what's the rule for that?
Yeah,
and I'll just go, okay, it's this.
And I'm more than happy for that.
And the thing is, it's like, I've I've done it often. Like when Sean was first running Fallout, he was nervous as hell. In
Yeah.
the first couple of
Yep.
sessions, he'd
Yep.
be like, "What's the penalty for darkness?" And I'd just be like, "It's a -2, mate."
Yeah,
And that's being helpful. But there's the backseat GMing.
That's a whole different kettle of fish. that
Yeah,
is.
like to give a good example, there was if you've listened to the Adventure Zone, right? Really cracking actual play podcast. And on that, the GM for ages was this guy called Griffin, and on the next session they did a bunch of smaller experimental arcs where the dad took over because it's all their family. And on his arc, Griffin kept saying, "Well, actually, I think a better way to do it would be this." And I don't want to step on your toes, but here's how we should be doing it. Or create a better story. And it's like, mate, just let the guy GM.
Let your dad have a go, man.
If you want to chime in to be helpful, just do it. Carefully.
Don't influence the guy. Just kind of give him. You can give an opinion, but don't say you should do this. It will make the game better because you're undermining the GM.
Yes. As for how to handle people like that, my honest opinion is that if you're GMing, you do need to have a bit of sternity to you, and if somebody's doing that, you just need to say, "Well, I'm going to rule it like this. This is how we're ruling it. How we're ruling it. Now we can discuss it later."
We've wasted too much time talking about it.
You have to be firm.
Yeah,
And that's one thing that I've learned. If you're not firm and people can walk all over you, they will.
Yeah.
Players will always find the easiest route to anything.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, I'd agree. So you need to be firm, and also on the other side of it, coaching's fine as long as it's just helpful.
If people are just trying to be helpful, accept it.
Exactly.
Shogun Pumba comes in. Shogun Pumba, never know how to pronounce that. He says, "Apart from your whacked in the wicket, what's the best one shot you've played or GM'd?" And you know what? I've got two. And this isn't simply because I might be recency biased, but I'm not sure. But Tales of the Scarecrow, that was one of my favourites. The one that we discussed in What You're Slaying. The other best one shot I've ever played, and apologies to anyone listening whose one shots I've played in, but this was world class, was Wise Guys in America. With Eric's terrain and just how great the story was, how cinematic it was. We discussed it on our Con on the Cob episode, but essentially what it was that, as far as I recall, some people that owed us money were in Outback in America, in like Las Vegas, right? And they had all these sheds and huts, like proper hick type people.
Yeah.
And we had to go and shake them down.
And the old boondogs.
Yes, it's a really simple sort of story, but it had people jumping out the trunks with Uzis. We had a monster truck come out like proper like backwards.
Moonshine grenades coming in.
It was, and this woman came out with 2 tigers on a lead. and like immediately I chucked this dynamite and shot it in midair. He gave me like a -8 to hit, and I still hit it. Blew the fuck out of those tigers, and he was just like, "I had this really cool encounter planned, and you just blew them up."
Oh well, Eric, that's how it goes. E-Rock. For me, GMing, I've got to say the Tentacle game. I loved GMing that. It was so much fun, and playing best one shot. I've got still hands down. I think it is the best one. Is the Maid one shot when we were working in the dungeon.
I'm actually going to put that up there too.
It's my absolute favourite. It was so funny.
As for GMing, Maid is such an unexpected gem.
Oh, mate.
I literally bought that for this show to be like, look at this weird thing.
And we were all like, wow.
When we played it was actually, because it does comedy better than any other game.
Oh, it's brilliant. And it's like the Dark Overlord trying to go legit, a load of business people coming round. We're trying to like dress up a dungeon to make it not look like a dungeon. It was hilarious.
It's so funny, like there's a chandelier made of bone, like fucking monsters were coming out of every crevice.
Imps all over the place. What's down in the well? Do you remember that?
Oh yeah. You had to put. There was a bit where they opened a cupboard just to get like a champagne glass for these people that were coming over, and a bunch of imps poured out, and they're like, "Shit, fucking put it back in the cupboard." And I remember it was really funny, like sitcom level funny, where this like all the imps suddenly burst into the dining room. And James, only the woman who the dungeon guy was entertaining at the time, only the woman could see it, and he punched her in the back of the head, knocking her out so that she wouldn't see it. And then when she woke up, she went, "What happened?" And he was like, "I don't know."
Don't know what happened. Yeah, you're right. It was just chaos, and I loved it, and it was just so much fun. So yeah, they're my two, GM and player.
Play more weird RPGs in general if you're listening to this.
Yeah.
Michael Hassenstab, he has another question for us. No, that was the same question. So that's it.
That's a double paste.
That's a double. So that's it for the questions. I want to say some cracking entries to the magic item one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sorry we couldn't get to them all, but I ain't got a day.
Think we do this for fun?
You think we hate this hobby? I've never even played an RPG.
I don't even own a book.
Yeah. Dungeons and Dragons.
What's that?
So that's it. Thank you very much for your correspondence. We love them always and keep them coming. But now we're going to go on to our award-winning segment.
Ooh.
It's the outro.
Oh, yeah.
So the initiation process, how does that work? So, yes, one of our favourite things is a medieval blood sport.
So that was another episode, wasn't it?
It certainly was. I guess it was.
So if you want to contact us, 3trpgpod@gmail.com and the 3TRPG podcast, search it up on Facebook, Twitter, MeWe, all of that good stuff. We recently got an Instagram, which I used for about a day, but I'm going to try to update it more.
Yeah, it's fun. I like the stories. They make me laugh.
Yeah, those are a bit weird.
They're good.
So what we're going to do, and also if you want to donate to us, search us on Patreon and donate a couple of bucks. And if you feel like that's too much of a commitment, you can support the show by buying 78 Hamlet Happenings on Drive-Thru-RPG.
Absolutely, you can.
Okay,
usual schedule will resume.
Yeah, usual schedule is going to resume from now. So just keep your ears out. I've been Harrison Hunt.
I've been Nick Lambslice.
And always remember that D20s are cool, but 20Ds, now that's a good time.
Oh yeah. Should we go down the pub?
Let's go.
Hey!